Hello and welcome to another episode of Belongs to the Shadows. I'm your creepy host, Jaime Bennett, and as always, listener discretion is strongly advised. I wasn't sure what to talk about on this episode. My last video only got 4 views so far, and I'm gonna be brutally honest, YouTube is hit or miss. My videos are more popular on Facebook. To be honest, they are more popular on Facebook. I get over 1,000 views, which may not seem like a whole lot to a lot of you, but I didn't take YouTube very seriously for the longest time. I did have a set schedule whenever my shows were on Cosmos Creative Television YouTube page, but then when I started my own YouTube page of Star Raven Studios, I didn't have a set schedule. I would just release videos whenever, and in order to get more views, you do need to be on a schedule. I get it. There's an algorithm, and a lot of times my videos are hit and miss. I don't ever plan on making money from doing these videos. And if I do, that's awesome. If I get a sponsor for my videos, that would be incredible. That would really help a gal out. But I mostly do these videos to give me something to do, to get my mind off of things, and because I really enjoy doing these videos. I really enjoy doing the research, and I really enjoy covering these topics. I am hoping to change the format. Right now, this format seems to work for me, but once I can update my equipment and get better recording equipment, I will start filming on location again, like I did with some of my old Belongs to the Shadows episodes, whenever they were on Cosmos Creative Television. And there are some of the old episodes on Star Raven Studios, which is where you're catching this right now, every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. I try my very best to release a video every week, but I have to get serious for a moment. My husband is going through the signs. He has not been officially diagnosed yet, but all signs are pointing to him having early onset Parkinson's. So some weeks are rougher than others, and there are, some weeks that my health issues cause me to not do videos. And then, of course, we live out in the boonies, and the internet's not that great. And sometimes when there's just a small thunderstorm or it rains, it knocks the internet out. So, me being brutally honest here, anybody who can sponsor my show would definitely help me be able to update my equipment and get more professional setup. But I appreciate anybody who listens to my podcast, and I appreciate anybody who shares my podcast and subscribes to this podcast. I really appreciate it. I really do. And like I said, I don't ever expect to become famous. I don't ever expect to make money off of these podcasts. I just really enjoy doing them. So without further ado, like I said, I wasn't sure what I was going to talk about, but I was strongly thinking about Mothman and Slender Man, and some of those cryptids that we all have come to love. Well, us creepy gals, anyways, creepy gals and guys. And then, I was talking to my son, and he's like, "You should talk about the Mothman." And I was like, that's so funny because that's exactly what I was thinking about talking about. So here we go. As always, I'm going to give credit where credit is due. I find a lot of my research on Google, and I have to give you a warning label here with me. Because of my dialect, things are going to be mispronounced. I am educated, believe it or not. I do have a bachelor's degree in mass communications. but sometimes I stutter and sometimes I cannot pronounce things for the life of me. But hey, that gives comical relief to this podcast, I would think. Anyhow, here we go. The Mothman. The Mothman is a winged cryptid. So it's associated with Point Pleasant, West Virginia, known for reported sightings in the late 1960s, particularly around the time of the Silver Bridge collapse. It is described as a large humanoid creature with glowing red eyes and large wings, often associated with UFOs and other paranormal phenomena. Yep. So here's the key aspects of the Mothman legend. A large humanoid figure with wings, often described as having red glowing eyes. The sightings began in November of 1966 with a creature allegedly seen near the Silver Bridge before it collapsed in December 1967. Silver Bridge collapse. The Mothman's appearance is often linked to the collapse of the Silver Bridge in Point Pleasant, with some believing it was a warning of the impending disaster. Point Pleasant. The town of Point Pleasant embraces the Mothman legend, hosting an annual Mothman festival and featuring a Mothman museum. Cultural impact. The legend has been popularized by John Keel's book, The Mothman Prophecies, which was released in 1975, and the 2002 film of the same name. Possible explanations of this Mothman. Some believe the sightings could be misidentified owls or other birds, while others attribute them to folklore and the human tendency to find meaning in the unexplained events, according to a University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee student. So, Mothman, this is Wikipedia. Wikipedia. I always like to go to Wikipedia. And of course, it shows a black creature with red eyes and big black raven like wings. In American folklore, Mothman is a humanoid creature that was reportedly seen in Point Pleasant, West Virginia from November 15th, 1966 to December 15th, 1967. So, despite its name, the original sightings of the creature described avian features. The first newspaper report was published in Point Pleasant Register, dated November 16th, 1966, titled Couple See Man-Sized Bird Creatures Something. The national press soon picked up the reports and helped spread the story across the United States. The source of the legend is believed to have originated from sightings of out-of-migration sandhill cranes or herons. Yeah. The creature was introduced to a wider audience by Gray Barker in 1970 and was later popularized by John Keel's book in 1975, The Mothman Prophecies, claiming that there were paranormal events related to the sightings in connection to the collapse of the Silver Bridge. The book was later adapted into a 2002 film starring Richard Gere. I haven't seen that film yet, but I'm going to have to check it out. So, on November 15th, 1966, two young couples from Point Pleasant, Roger and Linda Scarberry, and Steve and Mary Mallett, told police that they had seen a large black creature whose eyes glowed red, standing at the side of the road near the TNT area, the site of former World War II munitions plants. Linda Scarberry described it as a slender, muscular man about 7 feet tall with white wings. However, she was unable to discern its face due to the hypnotic effect of its eyes. Distressed, the witness sped away, reporting that the creature flew after their car, making screeching sounds, and pursued them as far as Point Pleasant city limits. Over the next few days, more people reported similar sightings after local newspapers covered it. Two volunteer firemen who saw it said it was a large bird with red eyes. Mason County Sheriff George Johnson believed the sightings were due to an unusually large heron he termed a shite poke. Contractor Newell Partridge told Johnson that when he aimed a flashlight at a creature in a nearby field, its eyes glowed like bicycle reflectors. Additionally, he blamed buzzing noises from his television set and the disappearance of his German Shepherd, Bandit, on the creature. Wildlife biologist Robert L. Smith at West Virginia University told reporters that descriptions and sightings fit the sandhill crane, a large American crane almost as tall as a man with 7-foot wingspan, goodness gravy, wingspan and reddish coloring around its eyes. The bird may have wandered out of its migration route and therefore was unrecognized at first because it was not native to the region. Due to the popularity of the Batman TV series, yes, Batman TV series, at the time, the fictional superhero Batman and his rogues gallery were prominently featured in the public eye. While the villain, Killer Moth, did not appear in the show, the comic book influence of both him and Batman is believed by some to have influenced the coinage of the name Mothman in the local newspapers. Following the December 15, 1967 collapse of the Silver Bridge and the death of 46 people, the incident gave rise to the legend and connected the Mothman sightings to the bridge collapse. According to the Georgian newspaper, oh goodness, this is going to be interesting. A Georgian newspaper, I'm not even going to try to pronounce this gentleman's name. Russian UFOologist, whew, that's a mouthful, claimed that Mothman sightings in Moscow foreshadowed the 1999 Russian apartment bombings. The Mothman Prophecies 2002 is a major motion picture loosely based on the 1975 book of the same name by John Keel. In 2016, WCHS TV published a photo purported to be the Mothman, taken by an anonymous man while driving on Route 2 in Mason County. Science writer Sharon Hill proposed that the photo showed a bird, perhaps an owl, carrying a frog or snake away, and wrote that there is zero reason to suspect it is the Mothman, as described in legend. There are too many far more reasonable explanations. So it goes on to talk about like the Mothman prophecies, like they analyze the Mothman prophecies. I'm not gonna read all that. It's just not gonna happen. Nope, no thank you. No, thank you. Not gonna do that to you all. Um I like I I mean whether the Mothman actually exists or not, I just think it's interesting that like when you have cryptids or you have like legends of like dragons and stuff, there are stories all around the world about these creatures. So there has to be some kind of truth to it, I believe. I believe. X-Files theme song playing in the background right now. Now I got that in your head and you're not going to be able to get it out of your head. You're welcome. I used to watch the X-Files. Not sponsored by the X-Files, by the way, but I still watched the X-Files a lot when I was younger. And I guess maybe that's why I'm into things like haunted history and cryptids and whatnot and so forth and so on. But like I said earlier, they do have a Mothman festival, so you know they really take the Mothman very seriously. I take Bigfoot seriously. I believe in Bigfoot. Love Bigfoot. Love the Sasquatch. I will talk about Bigfoot eventually. Like I said, I live in Georgia. Not going to tell you where in Georgia, but I live in Georgia. And there is a Bigfoot museum within driving distance from where I live in Georgia. And I'm hoping to film on location at some point and do an interview with the people that take care of the museum. I'm hoping. I have not asked them yet, but I'm hoping that they will agree and that they will do an interview and I can advertise for the museum. I think that it's going to be interesting. Um, I'm going to mention them again. Sam and Colby actually did a video. They did one of their investigations was on Bigfoot, and they went to the Kentucky area. And I'm from near Paducah, Kentucky. I used to live in southern Illinois, and so it's no surprise that I am fascinated with the whole story of Bigfoot. It really is not. It's not a surprise. Anyhow, Anyhow, they do have a Mothman festival, like I said, and a Mothman museum, and you can investigate all of that if you would like. I will put a link to the Mothman Museum and the Mothman Festival down below in the description if y'all are interested. Sam and Colby did do a video on the Mothman. I don't know if they did a video on my next topic in this episode, but let's talk about the Silver Bridge and why it's so significant. I'm gonna look that up real quick. Silver Bridge collapse. So the Silver Bridge, which was connected to Point Pleasant, West Virginia, and Gallipolis, Ohio, Gallipolis, Ohio, collapsed on December 15th in 1967, and it killed 46 people. The collapse is attributed to a fracture in a suspension chain eye-bar. The Mothman, a cryptid allegedly sighted in the area before the collapse, became linked to the disaster in local folklore and popular culture. The Silver Bridge collapse. The Silver Bridge was a suspension bridge built in 1928. It collapsed during rush hour, sending vehicles and people into the Ohio River. The collapse was caused by a fracture in a suspension chain eye-bar. The fracture was caused by a flaw just 0.1 inches deep, exacerbated by stress, corrosion, and corrosion fatigue, according to a Wikipedia article. The collapse led to the implementation of a new bridge, inspection standards, and fracture critical member destinations. Yeah. Anyhow, according to a Facebook post, the Mothman connection. So, the Mothman is a cryptid described as a large winged humanoid with glowing red eyes, which I said before. Sightings of the Mothman were reported in Point Pleasant area leading up to the Silver Bridge collapse. Some locals believe Mothman was a harbinger of the disaster or even caused it. John Keel's book, The Mothman Prophecies, popularized the connection between the Mothman and the Silver Bridge collapse. The legend of Mothman has been commercially exploited with festivals, museums, and movies. And I just recently went to the Oddities and Curiosities show. Not too long ago. It was the first time that I had ever been to the Oddities and Curiosities show, which is amazing. If you get a chance to go and see Oddities and Curiosities Expo, then do it. There was a lot of Mothman items at the expo, and they have like all of your favorite cryptids. They have the They have the Mothman, they have Slender Man, they have the Loch Ness Monster, they have Bigfoot, yada, 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 on and on and on. You get my point. So, the impact and legacy. The Silver Bridge collapse is a major event in Point Pleasant's history and is remembered as a tragedy. The Mothman legend has become a part of the town's identity and is celebrated annually with the Mothman Festival. The collapse in the Mothman legend raised questions about folklore, historical events, and the commodification. Goodness gravy. I'm telling you all. I need to wear my glasses when I do these. I'm telling my age right now of legends. So that's really horrible that, that many people died in the collapse of the bridge. And whether the Mothman is true or not, it's still interesting to learn about the Mothman. In my opinion, it is still interesting. So I'm going to move on to the next subject, and I'm going to put all the links so you can do research on your own time about the Mothman and all the interesting links, even a link to the film Mothman Prophecies. So here we go with the second half of this podcast. In the second subject of this podcast, Slender Man. I wanted to talk about Slender Man because, I don't know a whole lot about it. I get the general gist about this cryptid. I know that my sons were fascinated with Slender Man, and there are movies, books, stories, about the Slender Man. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Slender Man was included in, not sponsored by Supernatural, but I love the show Supernatural, so I'm going to bring it up. I'm pretty sure that they covered Slender Man in the Supernatural TV series. If you have not watched Supernatural TV series, I'm sorry, we cannot be friends. No, I'm just kidding. I love Supernatural TV series. I haven't gotten through all the seasons. I hate to admit that. But life got busy, didn't get through all the seasons. I need to go back and watch it from the beginning. Some winter when it's cold and slushy outside, or you just don't feel like being outdoors, and I need to catch up on it. I really do. But I'm pretty sure that they covered a lot of cryptids in Supernatural TV series, and I love how they do it. It's very interesting. I'm going to take a sip of my water. Stay hydrated, especially with the way the heat's been. It's actually really nice in Georgia today. Super, super nice in Georgia. The weather is so pleasant today. I love it. It's in the 70s. I am a fall time gal. I love the fall time. Not a huge fan of the summer. I used to be. Not anymore. Not since moving to Georgia. It is so hot here, and you have fire ants, and it's just miserable. So, anyhow, so I'm going to take a weird turn here. Instead of describing the Slender Man, which I will get to that, I'm going to take you to a case that it's called the Slender Man case, and you can find this on theguardian.com. Slender Man case release, psychiatric hospital. So, the Slender Man case, woman who stabbed classmate to be released from psychiatric hospital. And this was in the Guardian newspaper. I'm not sure who the author is. But I'll put the link below. Anyhow, Morgan Geyser, who pleaded guilty in 2014, attacked when she was 12 years old, granted conditional release. So, a 22-year-old woman who stabbed a classmate a decade ago, believing that the act would earn her the right to be the servant of none other than Slender Man. a fictional supernatural character. Um, they were set to be released from a Wisconsin psychiatric hospital when this article came out. So it says January 9th of 2025, and they have a picture of this individual. Waukesha County Circuit Judge Scott Wagner agreed on Thursday to the conditional release of Morgan Geyser from Winnebago Mental Health Institute, a psychiatric hospital where she has spent the last 7 years. In 2014, Geyser and Anissa Wire lured their friend Peyton Leutner to join a game of hide and seek in the heavily wooded Davids Park near Waukesha, Wisconsin. Gosh. Geyser stabbed Leutner 19 times, nearly killing her, while Wire egged her on. All 3 girls were 12 years old at the time. I'm pretty sure I talked about this in a past Belongs to the Shadows episode, which, this is crazy. Like, oh, so insane, and it's awful. Geyser and Weir later told investigators that they had committed the crime to appease Slender Man, a thin, unnaturally tall humanoid character that originated as a creepypasta internet meme created by Something Awful former user Eric Knudsen in 2009. 5 hours after the attack, Weir and Geyser were arrested in a nearby furniture store, still in possession of the knife used in the stabbing, and told police they were going to meet Slender Man as Slender Mansion in a forest 200 miles away. Geyser later disclosed lifelong visual and auditory hallucinations that included figures she interpreted as ghosts, colors melting down walls, and imaginary friends. Her mother described her as being floridly psychotic, and she was later diagnosed with early onset childhood schizophrenia. God, this is so disturbing. Geyser ultimately pleaded guilty to being a party attempted first-degree international homicide in 2017, but claimed she wasn't responsible because she was mentally ill. She was later committed to a psychiatric hospital for 40 years. Wire pleaded guilty to being a party to attempted second-degree international homicide with a dangerous weapon. Like Geyser, she claimed she was mentally ill and not responsible for her actions. She was committed to 25 years in a mental hospital but was granted release in 2021. The case drew widespread attention in part because the character Slender Man had been photo edited into everyday images of children at play, creating a disturbing juxtaposition of childhood innocence and the transition to a more complex adult understanding of reality. Subsequent efforts to secure Geyer's release from the psychiatric home have taken several turns. Earlier this year, a judge ruled she could be released after 3 experts testified she has made progress and argued that she did not present a future risk. But in March, Peyton Leutner, the mother of the victims, said the group home that Geyser was to be released to was 8 miles away from where she lives. Wisconsin health officials were ordered to come up with a new plan. State health officials also argued that she didn't volunteer to her therapy team, that she had read Rent Boy, a novel about murder and selling organs on the black market, and alleged she had communicated with a man who collects murder memorabilia. That is so disturbing. The state has real concerns. These things are frankly just red flags at this point, said Abby Nicoli, the Waukesha County prosecutor at the hearing. But Geyser's attorney, Tony Cotton, described the state's request to keep her in hospital as a hit job. and said his client was not more dangerous today. She stabbed somebody like 19 times. I mean, hello. Anyhow. But Thursday, the plan to release Geyser, which has not been made public, was approved. Geyser's attorney, who did not respond to requests for comment, told the court that his client needs to be involved and the community needs to move on with her life, reported TMJ TV Milwaukee. Oh, good gosh. That's just... However, like I had, you know, talked about this topic on a past Belongs to the Shadows, I'm pretty sure. And it's just so disturbing. Like, this is a very, very, very disturbing case. Like, I wouldn't be comfortable with the person who stabbed my kid being only like a couple miles from my home. Like, no, I don't blame her. I wouldn't be comfortable with that at all. No, thank you. Not to mention the mental anguish that it would put on the survivor. Like, yeah, that's just disturbing. So disturbing. So here's the overview of the Slender Man. It's a fictional supernatural character that I said earlier was based on a creepypasta. I'll, if you want to look into it, I'll put a link to creepypasta, but yeah. Anyways, a creepypasta internet meme created by Something Awful forum user Eric Knudsen in 2009 is depicted as a thin, unnaturally tall humanoid with featureless white head and face wearing a black suit. And there are movies, Always Watching a Marble, which was released in 2015, and Slender Man, which was released in 2018. So, people ask these questions. Why was Slender Man banned? Beginning in 2014, a moral panic occurred over Slender Man after readers of his fiction were connected to several violent acts, particularly the near-fatal stabbing of a 12-year-old girl in Waukesha, Wisconsin. I almost said Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which is the story that I just told you. And they also go on to ask if the Slender Man is good or evil. He is widely recognized as sort of pop culture icon and also a somewhat controversial figure, considered in prime example of a creepypasta villain, as it's best being featured in many fictional stories around the web. Yeah. So I'm going to go into good old Wikipedia here. So the Slender Man, also called Slender Man, Slender, or Slendy, is a fictional supernatural character that originated as a creepypasta internet meme created by Something Awful forum user Eric Knudsen, also known as Victor Surge, in 2009. He is depicted as a thin, unnaturally tall humanoid with featureless white head and face wearing a black suit. A lot of times you see him in a gray suit as well. Stories of the Slender Man commonly featured his stalking, abducting, or traumatizing people, particularly children. The Slender Man has become a pop cultural icon, although he is not confined to a single narrative, but appears in many desperate works of fiction typically composed online. Fiction relating to the Slender Man encompasses many media, including literature, art, video series such as Marble Hornets. Yeah, I really need to wear my glasses. Which went from 2009 to 2014, wherein he is known as the Operator. The character has appeared in the video game Slender, The 8 Pages, in 2012, and the successor, Slender, The Arrival, in 2013, as well as inspiring the Enderman in Minecraft. He has also appeared in 2015 film adaptation of Marble Hornets, where he was portrayed by Doug Jones in eponymous 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 there we go, in 2018 film where he was portrayed by Javier Botet. Goodness. Beginning in 2014, a moral panic occurred over the Slender Man after the readers of the fiction were connected to several violent acts, particularly the near-fatal stabbing of a 12-year-old girl in Waukesha, Wisconsin. The stabbing inspired the documentary Beware the Slender Man, which was released in 2016. So, because the Slender Man's fictional mythology has evolved without official canon for reference, his appearance, motives, habits, and abilities are not fixed but change depending on the storyteller. Yeah. Yep. That. And this is where a lot of people say, oh, video games are the culprit of crimes. Video games are evil. No, not necessarily. I beg to differ. Video games are not evil, but are there like sometimes awful things that are in video games? Yes, there are violent video games out there. And I'm not saying that you should allow your 12-year-old to play a violent video game or anything like that. You do need to filter what your kids are playing and what your kids are listening to, as well as watching. That's still really, really important. But, you can't blame a fictional character like Slender Man for all the evil in the world. It's just how that individual handles the story of Slender Man. It's how that individual handles whatever video game. I filter what my daughter watches and what she listens to and what video games she plays, and she's homeschooled. Like, I am in charge of her education, not saying that public schools are bad or anything, but public schools is just not for my daughter. She has had better success with being homeschooled and following that curriculum. It gives her more hands-on out in the real world, more hands-on with science, more hands-on with art, and, all of that. So I think it's really, really awful that this person took a creepypasta meme way, way overboard into the next level. These cryptids are interesting. And do some of them exist? Maybe. Who's to say? I can't tell you that aliens exist or don't exist. People see unexplained things all the time. And, there are so many corners of this world that we live in that have not been explored yet. There are sea creatures that have not been discovered yet. There is life forms in outer space that haven't been discovered yet. And we're learning as we go, and we're discovering new things every single day. So who's to say that the Mothman doesn't exist? I'm not going to say that the Mothman doesn't exist. I want to believe that there are creatures out there that are supernatural and unexplained. Is it fantasy? Yeah, maybe. Maybe it's fantasy. Maybe not. You never know. I want to believe. I do want to believe that supernatural things happen. Um, I was going to say that, I believe that unicorns existed. I really do believe that they existed, or a unicorn like creature existed a long time ago. And people who are listening to this are probably like, she's a nut job. But that's the thing. You're going to sound like a crazy person when you say that you believe in these things, or you say you want to believe in these things. There is nothing wrong with wanting to believe in the supernatural. There is nothing wrong with being like a kid in the candy store when it comes to cryptids and the supernatural world. I just find it fascinating, and I find it interesting, and I even find it interesting when they debunk things, when they say, oh, well, no, this is what happened. There's a scientific explanation to this. And when they debunk things, I still find it interesting. It makes for good Belongs to the Shadows episodes. Anyhow, if you have a suggestion on any topics that you would like me to research, please put a comment down below. And I know I didn't talk about Slender Man too much, but there's not a whole lot to tell about Slender Man. I will put the links below to the supernatural episode that talks about Slender Man and anything else I find interesting, of course. But until next time, stay creepy.